Good evening, good evening. Welcome to North Queensland. This is north of the border where the rules of Southeast Queensland don't apply. This is the wild, wild North Queensland. Welcome to my paradise island where I fly here once a month for private practice clinics. When I can do anything I like, here are my suites. Have a look at my suites. This is my own little desk, my own little computer. Yes, the same sort of coffee I drink at Gold Coast, I drink up here as well. We have a little supply. There's my little private phone. Here are all the private little cup, the private cup which I use. Here are the private computers. Nowhere near as good as the Queensland Health computers, but they're just as good. Today I've got a treat for you. They're going to poke fun at my business associate, Dr. Rahul Dua, nicknamed the Dollar, because of his money-hungry ways. All of you know that I started private practice in Townsville in 2014, New Year's Day. All of you know the reason for starting private practice was this Nazi. Can you recognize him at all? Campbell Newman, ex-premier. He did something very stupid for consultant contracts in Queensland Health around 2013. So I was out of a job. And I just finished my training. I had done dual training, general medicine and endocrinology. And when you finish dual training, you want something sweet at the end of your journey, like a beautiful consultant physician endocrinology job in a public hospital. But no, this Nazi had to stand in between. So I had no choice but to start private practice. Now you can't start private practice alone, you need to start it with someone. So that someone had to be Dr. Rahul Dua, also known as the Dollar. So I started private practice with him. The two of us joined these suites. Soon I'll take you for a guided tour of these suites. So this is the suite's design. There's one room here which is mine. Obviously he came in the room without a window. He has a room with a large window. It's pretty obvious. And there's a toilet, a kitchen, fridge, kitchenette area, and a secretary's area in the middle. That's what I think about him. At first I thought I could trust him, but soon I came to know his real intentions were after the Dollar. So his nickname became Dollar. I wonder if you ever watched this Soviet cartoon from the 1950s where they were mocking Americans for their materialistic, capitalist ways. But anyway, this is a cartoon about how Americans are. The stubby nose in the air. Dollar reminded me a lot of that. This is the Soviet dog being served by butlers, African American butlers in America. This is how the Soviets see the Americans, eating breakfast and special pork chops every day. That's how his clothes changed after 6 months of private practice. By June 2014, he was like this. He was wearing suits. Then it came time to hire a secretary. And I told him, get someone mature-aged. And what does he do? He actually hires two ditzy 20-year-old girls in this practice without any brains, without any experience. You know why? Because he says it costs just $6 per month more to pay someone mature age as compared to someone who just started working. What a stupid excuse. And he fires the first one after 2 weeks, and he fires the other one after 3 months. And he has a way of firing them. He text messaged one of them, "You're Fred." And she said, "But Dollar, this is XYZ, your secretary." Then she said, "Oh, sorry, it's a typo. You're fired." That's how he fired one of them, with a typo on his text message. Then I brought in new people into these suites to share the cost burden. And he was actually asking them insensitive questions. How many patients have you got? How many patients have you got? Oh, you got only few patients. Of course you get only few patients when you first start private practice. Then I had enough of this hospital, this private hospital. I wanted to get out of here. I was looking for an escape route by 2014, by the winter. Then I was applying to Queensland Health jobs throughout the end of 2014 aggressively. Almost every hospital, even applying to WA, even applying to Tasmania. And one of the hospitals I was longing after was my most favorite hospital in the world, Logan Hospital. And I applied to Logan many times, 3-4 times throughout 2014. All the jobs were, all in applications were unsuccessful. But he came to know about it. So every day, when he goes home, Dollar would stop by the door and asks me that stupid question. When are you being interviewed? When are you being interviewed? When are you going to go? What's going to become of the money? What's going to become of the suites? Sick and tired of those questions. So I had to really keep my calm. He also got rid of his old car which he had and he bought himself a new BMW. There was a time he was even after a Merc. He even bought 2 houses in Townsville. I never see anyone buying 2 houses. You can just imagine what mortgages for 1 house, let alone 2 houses. And the printer. I'll stop at this stage and we'll go take a guided tour at the back about this cartoon printer he purchased. Get off it now. And so these are the private suites here in Townsville. Please walk along. You can see the secretary area. There's a Star Wars calendar I brought because there are pediatric patients seen by a pediatrician. They love the Star Wars characters. We can have a look at some more of the Star Wars characters which I brought. A lot of them. There's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Here's the secretary area. Please come in and have a little look at it. You can see there are phones, a couple of large computers. Here are all the credit card machines. That's Dollar's credit card machine. Most prominent, NAB. Then we go on to this painting. This painting was in my room. It was a painting of the Big Ben in London. This is the patient waiting area. And guess whom we have in the patient waiting area? So prominent, showing his face to you. The man himself. That's Dollar. Hey, got Dollar. What do I like to do with Dollar? I like to do this to him all the time. Oh, Dollar. Now, the story of the cup. This is an interesting thing. Finally I got an interview by Gold Coast Hospital. A couple of people resigned in January 2015, and the job was advertised around January 2015, and I applied for it, and I was done in complete silence. I didn't tell Dollar at all that I was going to be interviewed. I didn't even tell Dollar that the interview was scheduled for March 2015, March 13th, 2015, and I quietly flew from Townsville to Brisbane, quietly took a rental car, quietly drove to my hotel room at Gold Coast. 13th of March 2015, I got quietly interviewed by 2 good consultants at GCOH, General Medicine. And April 2nd, 2015, I got the GCOH physician's job. I didn't tell Dollar. I told the other consultant here, I told the secretary, I didn't tell Dollar. I remember buying carrot cakes and eating carrot cakes. I was actually on the paleo diet, but I broke the rules for one day because that day was well worth breaking the rules. And I ate carrot cakes and I celebrated the beautiful moment of getting the job. And then I packed my whole house into the car and I drove my car somewhere on the 15th or 16th of April 2015 down the Bruce Highway, 1500 kilometers, one-way trip out of Townsville to Gold Coast. And then I saw something in the rear view mirror. It's Dollar! It's Dollar running on the highway. I see he's trying to wave. He's trying to say something. And I slowed down my car and I tried to listen to him. He says, "Help! Help! Don't go! What's going to become of the money?" And what did I do? I cold-bloodedly put my foot on the accelerator and zoom! 200 kilometers an hour, all the way down the Bruce Highway, all the way destination Gold Coast. Now the story of this foam cup. You know that this foam cup is only available in Queensland Health. You don't get it in private suites. Now after that interview, I was offered a cup of coffee by one of the secretaries at GCOH in March 2015. And by accident, this foam cup, I placed it in my bag after drinking the coffee and brought it back to Townsville by mistake. And I put it on my desk the day after the interview. And Dollar could have seen the foam cup. He could have got the clue that I have escaped. But he didn't get the clue. I only told him about my escape when the room was empty, the empty room. Only when he saw the room was empty for several months after March 2015 did he get the clue that I'm gone. And the story of the foam cup is the day after the interview, he could have actually got the clue that this phone call is Queensland Health. You've been for an interview. Where have you been last night? He could have asked me that question. He didn't. So as a way of mocking him, each time I come up here, I bring the phone cup each time I come up here, just to remind him what he missed. That's why, as Sherlock Holmes said, seeing is a faculty, but observation is an art. So you need to be observant as a doctor. You need to observe, what is this cup doing here? How did it appear here? Have you been to a Queensland Health interview? That's what he failed to do. Last month I put a photo of a frog on his face. It took almost 1 month for him to actually introduce the frog. And then he removed the frog and all the patients had a good laugh. Let's move into his room. This is Dollar's room, the other room. Dollar still works here. Have a nice picture of the whole room. Often I leave a little gift. Sometimes I put a picture of the frog on his chair, so he sits on the chair and makes a noise, frog croak. Sometimes I write little messages like this, like Logan, to frighten him because he was all the time after me, thinking I'm going to run away to Logan. So I would put a Logan. I would often, sometimes hammer a nail up here and put it on his door. So when he closes the door after he comes to work on Monday morning, he sees this little foam cup to greet him. So every month I fly to Townsville, I bring the foam cup just to mock him. Now that's evil. That's supposedly his coat. And you can see his coat is full of germs. I'm really even afraid to touch his coat. Didn't know he's on statins. He actually takes statins for high cholesterol. So every time I fly to Gold Coast, I usually, meter maids, who the meter maids are in Gold Coast. So I often put photos of meter maids into his coat, and I often also leave the cup with all Logan messages inside his coat pocket, and I leave it in here. And then he comes to work, and he feels like he's being intruded. Let's move into the last section. Now that printer, there's a story for that as well. That printer, Dollar purchased this printer for about $1,000 from some backyard store. Now there are 5 consultants working here. 6th consultant has joined last year. Very busy suites. Do you think a small printer like that can handle the tons of faxes we get every day, referrals from GPs? No. So we wanted a bigger printer like this one. So we told him, get rid of that printer. We're going to buy this printer. It costs about $1,000 to $2,000 a month to purchase it and maintain it. But no, he spat the dummy. He made a huge noise about this big printer. So in the end, we shoved it down his throat. We physically took that small printer of his. We dumped it down here. Without his permission, we bought the big printer. We put it in here. It's working perfectly while all of us are happy. And that's the story of Dollar. Also, I've also brought some new things to mock him. I also brought some meter-made beer mats to mock him, and I put it in the suites. Because I try endocrine experiments on him. I want to check out if he's straight or not. So each time I bring things like these, I often put it in his room or put it out here. And I often sing songs like, reproduction, 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 reproduction. And I see Dollar's response. And lastly, let's head back to my suites. I feel very happy when I come here to Townsville once in a month. It's a nice relaxing time for me. We're coming to the end of this recording. There's a very incompetent medical suites down there called Suite 104, where you've got the worst secretaries in the world who can't do any billing, who can't do any bookings, are totally incompetent. It's owned by the hospital, by the private hospital. So I nicknamed them Area 51 because they're so incompetent. And last year I hijacked about a couple of doctors out of Area 51 to come into my suites in Suite 5. So all of them, like Volansky, and all of them are doing very well at the moment. Dollar goes for a conference for renal medicine to London, and there he sees the pound is more stronger than the dollar, so he skips breakfast, skips lunch, and eats grass. Bookkeeper, that's another thing. All practices should have a bookkeeper to handle the finances and spend money appropriately and handle the accounts. He organizes a couple of crack bookkeepers. The one he's got right now is an absolute lunatic and also very rude. And I'm very happy about the events of 2015. 31st of January 2015, this Nazi got kicked out of power. A new premier came in, all the jobs opened. And I often very fondly remember that little trip to Gold Coast in March 2015 when I went, got interviewed and grabbed the job. It almost felt like an escape from this prison. It felt like Alcatraz. To end with Dollar, he often has this saying, no job is too small in private practice. No job is too small. Even the smallest thing, if he can do it. He's very alone and lonely now in the suites. I keep sending him text messages about Gold Coast and meter maids and all that just to humor him. He feels very loved whenever he gets text messages from me. As for me, I have a new life now in Gold Coast, a brand new life full of yoga, meditation, fencing, salsa dancing, clay target shooting, ice skating, beach volleyball, horse riding, you name it. Boxing was a new craze this year, Toastmasters, comedy. But I still miss Dollar a lot. He was a business associate from hell. Thank you very much, and he was the main reason I left Townsville, and I'm never ever going to come back here again. But I still have a lot of love for Townsville, and I'll at least fly up here once a month to do my private clinics. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and good night.